Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your boy Bodkins, and of course, with me is my main guy, Wit, and Don Davis's best friend, Mr. Bobby Blunts.
Oh, the slander.
Not Don Davis, big dog.
I couldn't help myself. All right, let me get it back on track.
God, hey, that's how we start the show, baby.
Oh shit! Sorry about that. That's why I don't get on Cloud 85 before the show.
It was
Anyway.
like last week when you brought up Jimmy Crute, and I could not even get a word out.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back into it. Before we look at UFC Seattle, and we'll look at Beatrival versus Benavidez 2. And what maybe might be the most stacked boxing card in the last decade plus. We'll look at all that, but we must turn our heads back to turning back the time. On Saturday night was Jared Cannonier with a huge win against RoboCop. RoboCop's gas tank looked like an old beat-up pickup truck. Ran out of gas early. Your thoughts on just the fight itself, and really there's a couple pretty good fights for a nice night in at the Apex.
Yeah, man. To be real with you, we kind of undersold this one last week. I must admit. But to start off with the main event, man, first of all, the Killer Gorilla is he's been lingering around at top 10, and people have been giving him flack for having 2 losses and still remaining top tier at the top of the division for middleweights. But this was one of those fights, man. Like, he went through everything. He went through adversity. In my opinion, he definitely lost at least the first 2 rounds.
First round for sure. He was
he got, RoboCop got a good leg kick on him. He went down. He lost position, but he regained it really quickly. It looked as if this was a something that he couldn't overcome. But then we gotta jump back into the time machine, bro. You got to remember, Jared Cannonier has been in 8 main events, which he's proven that he can at least train for 5 rounds, even if he doesn't make it to 5. And this was, I think, what proved to be correct in this case. It did not look like RoboCop was ready to do 5 rounds. He punched himself out in about 2.5, and then when the onslaught kind of switched, Cannonier looked fresh. He was swinging hard still, and you could maybe right there in the middle of that second, third round, you could kind of see that jab was landing right under RoboCop's eye, and then right at the end of the third, that elbow was what works. I think that was one of those moments where and we talked about it last week. RoboCop is kind of reaching up. You know what I mean? Although a knockout artist, although he has had some really great fights in the UFC thus far, there's a difference when you start reaching for that top 6, 7, 8 fighters in the division. And Jared Cannonier showed it. I'm excited to see what he will do next because he's been through some adversity. And I think I said it last week too. When you go through one of those ACL tears, MCL, unless your name is Adrian Peterson, you know what I'm saying? It takes you a year to regain full confidence to push off, to charge forward, to go into the fire, so to speak, and do what you do best. But Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, pulled it off in great fashion too. It didn't go to the judges' scorecards. He got it done before then, and you now see why he was one of the he was feared. You got to remember, somewhere a couple years ago, it was Sean Strickland and it was Izzy. Those are 2 guys who at the time were at the top of the division. Now, it's a little shaky when we're looking at 7 after 2 losses, but he still got it. It's still in there somewhere. That lion is just, that ancient Chinese proverb with the tiger with the thing in his paw. You pull that thing out, he's still a tiger. You know what I'm saying? So big shouts out to Jared Cannonier in that win. I'm behind him 100% going forward, bro.
You're the only one that picked him, I believe.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
I was on Kyle. I was on Island. I guess that was me then.
I think we went with it together, but yeah, I did pick him for sure.
What about you, Bobby? Thoughts on Cannonier? Y'all must have forgot.
Yeah, I mean, a big reason I picked him originally was, just the 5-round experience, and RoboCop, average fight time was more around like 8 minutes. So I was interested to see if, Cannonier was able to take the initial damage, which he definitely did in the first round. How was RoboCop going to deal with it? And he really didn't. I mean, after the first round ended, RoboCop looked exhausted to me, and even though Cannonier definitely lost the first round, I thought it was easily going to be a Cannonier win, just whether or not he could get him out of there, which he eventually did. In the first round, you immediately remember how fucking tough Cannonier is, because I mean, I think a lot of other people do not take those shots, and let alone keep moving forward and stuff. But, RoboCop did look good in the beginning, but the biggest red flag was the amount of output he had in round 1. I think he was planning on hopefully going for a finish, because I just didn't know how he was going to sustain that for another 4 rounds. So great win for Cannonier, but, he's definitely in kind of a tough spot with where the division is and what they do. It seems like the UFC always keeps them in their back pocket to headline in Apex. So don't know if that's going to be next for him, or if maybe they throw him on something more of a main pay-per-view card. But a lot of his options coming up would probably be rematches, unless I would kind of personally love a move to 205 for him.
Back to 205. Back to 205.
Yeah, and the state of where that division is and stuff, I think they're a little bit just more intriguing matchups. But mainly I'm just probably saying that because I've already seen a lot of the ones at 185. But good to know he's still here, and would be interested to see where they go in the direction of booking him for his next fight.
Yeah, that's you're exactly right, Bobby. Like I was pretty impressed with his performance, and like I said, RoboCop had his gas tank looked like shittier than a old beat up pickup truck. So it ran out real quick after the first round, it felt like, and then Cannonier he weathered the storm and just kind of won the rest of the round until he got him out of there. Cannonier's fought everybody that isn't the champ in the top 4 outside of Hamzat. Obviously, I don't think they're going to give him Hamzat. It would be he lost to Izzy. That fight wasn't that great. He did lose to Robert Whitaker. That was way back in 2020. I think Fight Island or something like that. And then so he did beat Sean Strickland. I don't really know if that's the fight for him. Maybe it is, but does he take like an up and comer? He already kind of did the UFC on an up and comer, so I don't know why you would give him like somebody below him in the rankings. So if I'm him, I'm probably saying just give me Sean Strickland, the guy who just fought for the title and lost, and take that spot, and you already beat him. So what about you? Is there somebody you got in mind for next for Jared Cannonier?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head for me, bro. And just like as I was checking the rankings out, it's more or less like Bobby said, bro. It's pretty much all rematches. What makes sense for a win like this would be to fight up, but does somebody from the bottom, a Roman Dolidis, Piera, maybe somebody from the bottom, do something in the coming months on an undercard that makes them go, okay, hey, let's put them up one more time. You know what I mean? Exciting rematch, maybe, of two guys who are kind of teetering along the edge of going up or coming down, I would think either Whitaker or Izzy. You know what I mean? I would do it. And I think it would be somewhat of an entertaining fight where, hey,
that first fight, it was awful. Like it was not.
Yeah, it wasn't. That's what I'm saying. Like now with the tables kind of being set for Israel to kind of go out in a blaze of glory some way. Maybe it won't be as boring. Maybe they'll both peak in this one. You know what I mean? I'm not taking any away from Sean Strickland's greatness, but I don't want to see him pace around the ring for 4 rounds. I really don't. So he kind of doesn't make my mouth water like I would like I would want for a match with Jared Cannonier. But like I said, it's a possibility that some guy down there on the bottom, under 10, there, like I said, Doladiz is down there. Polakov, we don't necessarily want to see. Piera can come up. Kopolov is a good one. Bo Nickel has a fight, and I believe in April. Who knows? Especially somebody like Bo Nickel, who we have been somewhat clamoring for to have a meaningful fight. Maybe he wins in April, and then we close out the year with a Jared Cannonier Bo Nickel matchup. In November, December. You know what I mean? I think that's more of the UFC speed. But if the opportunity was available to him to do a rematch with somebody like Israel or Robert, I'd rather see Israel than Robert. Not to say that it's not to say that, I mean, not even Robert, but excuse me, Sean Strickland. I'd rather see Israel rather than Sean and have a rematch that way.
Bobby, let me ask you, like for RoboCop on the loose end, like this was his kind of first crack. Definitely, this high rank, that was kind of like the red flag was like, man, this is huge jump. Like, do you match him up with somebody maybe at the bottom of the rankings, or do you go back to unranked fighters if you're RoboCop after this clearly not a 5-round main event fight again?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll come back strong. They'll probably just book him in like a 3-round fight for his next fight. I don't think you have to go too far down. Stepping back for a bit with Cannonier, I'd say give him the winner of the Brendan Allen Fluffy fight.
Yeah,
yeah. Regarding RoboCop, maybe Michelle Pereira.
That's exactly the name I was going to say. That's the fight to make to me.
Yeah, but it would probably have to be on a pay-per-view, because if that was on the Apex, they would probably like make it a main event, and then you're kind of back to the whole 5-round thing. So I think I would probably prefer it in a 3-round setting, but stylistically, that's going to be a fun matchup. So I'd say probably do that. You definitely should not be fighting out of the top 15. He won a round with Cannonier. He proved he did belong. He just has stuff he needs to work on. So I think he'll bounce back, because he's got a pretty tough mentality. And I would definitely prefer them to do a more stylistic matchup like Pereira or something there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That was the name I was going to say. To me, like Pereira's like 14, so like stylistically, that fight would be a lot of fun to watch. They're both not going to really kind of take each other down. They're going to stand and kind of fight and bang. Why not do that fight? When they go back to Brazil, 2 Brazilians kind of going at it, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I think you guys took the fire from me just now. When I was thinking about RoboCop, I'm thinking, Bobby said stylistically, bro. What better to do than say, hey, you lost a 5-round fight, but let's put you in a 3-round. We like you in 3. By the second round, we can see that he's clearly putting in the force to take a guy's head off his shoulders. I'd rather see that with him and what y'all say, Michelle Pereira, right?
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good one too. And then just like you said, Botkins, do it in Brazil. Have the what's that? The brew. What's your tempo shout? And shit gonna brew now. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, we could have that plan, and they can have a ball in Brazil. I like that idea right there, and on the undercard somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick to kind of wrap up last Saturday. Josef Zala does beat Calvin Kattar, kind of sends Calvin Kattar's in a career spin here. Edmund Shabazian, a huge knockout of Dylan Boudica.
Who is no longer on the UFC roster.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Dylan cut. So, they said thank you for your knockout.
Shout out to Shabazian. No, that was a good fight. I
See
thought.
you later.
See you later.
Andre Petrosky with a big win. Angela Hill, 40-year-old Angela Hill, gets the split decision. I thought she actually lost that. I thought she lost the fight watching it live. I thought Souza had won rounds 2 and 3. Gabriel Bonfim put Chaos Williams to sleep, like choked him to sleep. So his body was so limp. I don't know how
killed my apology.
Yeah, it was put him to sleep. Anything else you guys want to? Any other fight you just want to highlight from last Saturday, real quick, Bobby?
I mean, it probably won't be fan popular, but I don't give a shit. That co-main event, all week, everyone's like, why is Calvin Kattar such a dog? This is ridiculous. And this is why. Like, I mean, I know people want to go off damage and stuff, but he legitimately was not able to hit him the first 2 rounds. He obviously took his gas off, his foot off the gas in the 3rd round and kind of coasted. So there's definitely things he can improve on his performance. But he definitely, showed that he deserved a number next to his name. And, you look at that top 12 in that division, and it is just stacked. I mean, you can just match all those interchangeable. So I know a lot of people were kind of bored with it and said, this is not the type of fight to get back in the UFC's graces. I think some people forget that the guy has already been cut and kind of came back. So he's just kind of building that win streak. And, I'm very intrigued to see who they match him up with next, because I think there's a lot of stylistic matchups that, get really spicy once you start creeping up past that top 10 there.
Yes, Zalal got ranked at 12th on the new rankings. Kattar falls all the way to 14, so he dropped 4 spots. So there's out of the top 15. So, what about you? Any other fight you want to shout out from last Saturday? You're muted.
Yeah, you guys stole that one. I was definitely going to give a big shout out to my man Edmund Shabazian, bro. Sometimes the long way is the better way to go about these things, but he's had it's not been the easiest for him. That Gerald Marchand triangle. Sure. I think we was watching. I think we was watching that Botkins. That was one of the ones we was fussing about.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot going on right now, but I think that Gerald Marchand one was one of the ones we were watching, and we was kind of talking about heavily at that time. So he's been going up and down. So it's good to see him get a good win on a good card. So big shouts out to him, man. He's moving up. So other than that, the rest of it was pretty much what we thought. And yes, the idea of seeing Calvin Kattar take that kind of loss point wise all the way to the 3rd, where we're thinking old school Calvin Kattar, not this guy. And to think what I'm tripping 3 losses in a row, 3.
I think that's 4 in a row.
It's 4 now. Yeah, it's 4. Okay, it's 4 now. I'm just now. Yeah, because the one before that, it was basically went downhill after Josh Emmett, basically. So I don't know, man, but hopefully he can either regroup, take some time off, get with his family, see how he's feeling. But he has a name. The name Calvin Kattar rings bells in the world of MMA. So hopefully he can take a minute, regroup, spend some time at home, and then maybe find the fire that we used to see from him when he was taking guys out. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's the way it goes in MMA, bro. You're up sometimes, you're up, and sometimes you're down.
Yeah, actually, Calvin's lost 5 out of his last 6. So, but, I mean, it's not like he's lost to he's lost to the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
And in Zalal, who knows? But like Aljo was in the former bantamweight champion, lost to Arnold Allen, who's ranked 2 or 3, lost to Josh Emmett, who's interim, has fought for the belt. Lost to Max Holloway, who's maybe arguably the greatest featherweight of all time.
You can also argue it's the best division in the UFC, though.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's not, it's nothing. It is one of the deeper ones. I think 135, 145, is in 155. Josh Emmett, has redirected a few careers. Redirected some people's thoughts on how they view things too, and Bryce Mitchell. Let's look into this Saturday. We are live this in Seattle. Now this card is taken. It's had 6 original fights fall out, unfortunately. So this card seems to be a little bit cursed. We were supposed to obviously get, this was supposed to be the Dominic Cruz retirement fight. And poor Rob Font, he went from the co-main to the 3rd fight, but this fight card, is still pretty good. Like you got at the top, Henry Cejudo versus Xiong Yindong, Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. John Silva is on this card. I mean, heavy favorite. He's the biggest favorite at minus 550. That's a card that a guy that's stepping in on short notice. I know. Andre Feely's on this card. You have Ricky Simone versus Javid Bashart. And newly acquired Mr. Van Zant, Austin Vanderford, is on this card, taking the fight on a 1-week notice. His UFC debut on the early prelims. Bobby, I'll start with you just before we start looking at kind of the main and maybe a couple of the in the co-main. What kind of fight sticks out to you that you're looking forward to the most?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say because there have been so many changes. It really makes my head spin, especially trying to remember the original fight compared to what was booked and what is booked now. But when the entire card got made and it was completely intact, my probably most excited fight was just seeing John Silva again. So that will probably be my most intriguing one on the main card, especially seeing how, certain things have fallen out. It sucks that Cruz fell off the card and pretty much had to retire. But at the same time, it was kind of cool to see him get an interview prior to the card and stuff. So, but yeah, I would probably highlight, the Silva matchup. Granted, it's not surprising that he is a highly favorite there. And probably next to it would probably have to be definitely Brendan Allen and Fluffy. Allen had a kind of frustrating performance after he won the first round in his last fight. And, Fluffy has just been on a tear. So that definitely has 50K written all over it. And that main card is solid. You got Alonzo fighting too. First fight not with Pat Barry in his camp, so I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out. So a lot of decent storylines, and also we got a crowd of people in Seattle that have been starving for an event for a while. So even though with all the changes, I think it will definitely be a electric night in Seattle.
No doubt. What about you? Is there a fight that sticks out to you?
Yeah, man. As I'm checking down the card a little bit, I got my eye on the light heavyweight division, man. Let's see how it kind of gets shaken up a little bit. As we got Ian Kutalaba and Ivo Asian down there at the bottom, kind of kicking the main card off. And just like Bobby mentioned, Alonzo Menifield, somebody we got to keep an eye on, come out there and really, really put on a show. It's kind of uncommon for him to not do well, but literally he's taken these last 2 L's and made us kind of lose faith in him. But we want to see him fight through. some adversity because a first round loss, a second round loss, it kind of deflates you a little bit, especially in the eyes of the UFC. But they're giving him another shot on what potentially at one point I guess was a big card. I don't want to downgrade it because of what was supposed to happen, but what is happening is still supposed to be good. So as I look, it
was a solid A card, and now it's
right.
C+ card, I think.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I was gonna say B-, but C+ card is about right. So then at the same time, like I said, when you think about these light heavyweights, the one right before that, my guy Ian Cutelaba, I'm interested to see what he does. It's kind of one of those situations where he's got a lot of fights, and even in those really in that hard top tier level of having a lot of fights, that wear and tear kind of puts you at a place where you know what to do, but you don't have enough time to do it. Those 3-round fights make you kind of burn yourself out. And to me, Ian Cutelaba is one of those cats where it's happened when I've seen a lot of his losses. Especially in the UFC in the last 2 years. I want to say I'm looking at it right now. I seen the Tanner Bozer win. I did see that one. And I believe this rear naked choke by Johnny Walker. I watched that about 2 years ago. So he's been up and he's been down, but I'm interested to see what type of bounce back he goes, because light heavyweight is one of those divisions where 1 or 2 wins and you're right there where you need to be, where you could be screaming, for a main event on a UFC fight night. So I'm really interested in seeing that. John Silva, tough. I think last time we saw him, he didn't do what we wanted him to do, but he still found a way to get the W out on Drew Dober. Like, he's on a bit of a tear at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Can he continue on this really tough streak? I really want to see that. And let's see how he does in competition. So really, I'm looking at although it's not as top heavy because of a lot of the changes that had to be made. But right there at the beginning, these first 3 should make way. And I honestly don't expect the first 2 for sure to go past the 3rd round. I really don't. Let's talk about some second round knockouts in at least 2 of those for sure.
Yeah, I wanna take a deep dive here into the co-main and the main real quick. Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. Like, man, I was kind of high on Brendan Allen, but then his last fight, like Bobby alluded to, wasn't great against Roman Dolidze, and he's got even tougher game in Anthony Hernandez here. This is going to be a good wrestling, fest. I feel like 2 guys, like, are they going to stand and bang, or will they use their wrestling, to their advantage? Fluffy is 13-2. He's a pretty size favorite at -310. Brendan Allen at 24-6 is coming off the loss, but prior to that had won 4 in a row. Or I take that back, had won 1, 2, 3, it's like 6 in a row, or 7 in a row until he lost to Nasruddin. And Fluffy has won 6 in a row as well. So so it's not like, even though Brandon Allen's coming off the loss, like before that was on quite a run. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens in that fight. Like, man, I'm having a hard time just, like looking at and picking that fight. Like, to me, it's worth the squeeze at +245, like gambling wise, on Brendan Allen, because his money line is so good. Bobby, who do you like in this fight?
I don't know. Tough to say. I keep going back to, Allen was dealing with some stuff during that last fight week. And I don't really know how much that kind of got put into his head.
What was it? I don't remember.
It had something to do with him waiting to like take a blood test or something.
Oh,
like
that's
that.
Right.
Yeah. And he was claiming like the French guys didn't have to deal with it. I think it was just, more things getting fixed. But he did look good in that first round, but he didn't really adjust after his opponent did. So we kind of got the fight we got. But Fluffy really has been on a tear, and it's really hard for me to not see him walking away with this. I mean, granted, it's a fight, so I do agree with you, thinking the line is pretty steep. But, at the same time, I could kind of see it when, you look at the last 10 minutes in Allen's fight, because some of the places where he struggled is what Fluffy is going to, try to implement. So, I can't say I'm really pleased to be picking Fluffy, but I think that's kind of the way I'm going to have to go here. But would be more than happy to be proven wrong on this one. And last thing with Gene Silva, touch your opponent's gloves once at the start of each round, and that's it. Please do not touch your opponent like 20 times. That just randomly popped into my head. So sorry for the, lapse in a thought there. But
all good.
Yeah, I'll be taking a Fluffy on this one.
Yeah, I mean, fight nerds with Silva and Fluffy, both on the card. Fluffy's a fight nerd too, right?
Yeah, it's also very hard to go against that team's energy right now. Yeah. I know the female nerd took an L, but with all due respect, the other fighting nerds are a little bit higher tier than her. So it's really hard for me to, spoiler alert, if we were picking the Gene Silva fight, I'd obviously be picking him. But it's really just
550. So I don't think I think everybody's picking.
Yeah.
It's a short notice fight. So yeah.
But I mean, my point is, it's just very hard to go against that team right now, and they've been ripping off success. But at the same time, I could definitely see Allen using that as a motivation and being overlooked. So it's probably the most reason I'm excited for the matchup, because, I'm a little unsure of what we're going to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I completely agree with him. For this one, which Brendan Allen's going to show up. You know what I mean? And I say that with all seriousness because hey, my man Ahern, hey, he's been putting on recently. You know what I mean? With that win against Pereira, you got Kopolov with a rear naked. Was it a rear naked? I want to say I know he choked him out last year. Let me look. Hold on, wait. I don't want to lie.
Finished him.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Now I click on it. 298, Volkanovski Chaporia. Yeah, he got Kopolov with a nice little rear naked choke. So he's going up against some steep comp. This ain't gonna be no easy walk in there, walk in your trap and take over your trap. So Fluffy definitely representing that fighting nerd style. It's gonna be unorthodox. He's gonna come at him with multiple ways that he can win. Takedowns are definitely going to be what we are going to watch in this one, because if it's not from the ground and pound, then it definitely could happen. If Brendan Allen slips and leaves an arm or a neck out too long, you know what I mean. Right now I'm looking at Tapology. On Tapology right now we got 2,338 people that voted. And they got 85% going with Ahern, man, going by way of submission. Surprisingly, by way of submission. Oh no, by decision. Excuse me, by decision is what they got him going off of. And they got Allen with 15%. If he does win, they're saying Allen went by decision as well. So, tough crowd, man. Tough crowd for Brendan Allen, according to Tapology.
A lot of that is the popularity of the fighting nerds, though. So we'll take that with a grain of salt.
For sure. Yeah.
Are you picking Fluffy?
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna roll with the fighting nerds on this one.
I've been picking Brendan. I'm picking Brendan Allen, but I'm gonna go Fluffy on this one too. I'll ride him with the favorite here.
I thought this would have been your dog on your card, bro.
Hey, I like it.
I like this guy's energy.
Yeah, Craig's saying here, Brendan Allen with the upset on the feet. It's possible. I hope so. I've been a Brendan Allen guy here and I feel like I'm turning my back away from him. So
if he wins this, he's blasted right back off into
Yeah.
that discussion. So
I'll definitely roll
I'm
with that.
here for it.
I'll agree with you on that. He takes this win, especially if it's in like killer fashion. We don't make it to the third round. Like I agree. He's back up on top.
All right, we get into a couple guys on a couple losing streaks, and main event in this. Well, I guess really he's not on a losing streak anymore. I forgot he'd won 2 in between the Sandhagen fight, but it is none other than Song Yadong taking on the former bantamweight champion and flyweight champion, the king of cringe, Triple C, Henry Cejudo. It's been about a year since we saw Henry Cejudo. That's when he was carried across the cage by Merab. That was almost a year ago, in fact. So that was actually February 17th. So, we hadn't seen him a little over a year. But the King of Cringe is back. And he's taking on the ever game and young, kind of the guy that it seems like Song Yadong loses and then builds his way back, and now he's fighting the cream of the crop here, and the kid's still young against the wily vet. Bobby, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the main event?
I mean, I was really happy that this one stayed on the card. I mean, when all these fights were falling off, the main thing was just let's keep this main event intact. Let's keep this main event intact. Because I mean, granted, we don't see a lot out of Henry anymore, but when he does show up, it is going to be an event. I think they made the right choice in having him headline and stuff to help kind of bring the promotion wise, considering Song ain't going to do too much of that. But it's a pretty surreal moment for Song. Like I saw there was this post of him being like outside of the Olympics that, Henry won the medal in and stuff. So, I mean, those type of things are always like cool little nuggets to just kind of show you how long Henry's been in the game and how is it a new man's game coming up. And they've really set that up nicely here. So, if Henry was more active, I'd probably be a lot more inclined to pick him and stuff. He does seem to be able to kind of break down his opponents and stuff pretty well. But at the same time, if, the beginning rounds don't go well for him, more recently, it's just kind of been more the story of the fight, and he ends up losing. But, Song has also had some struggles himself. But I kind of trust the corner work to kind of keep him in line and all that. So picking wise, I'll probably go with the young buck on this and Song, and see if we get another y'all must have forgot moment. But my money would be more on Song getting a unanimous decision here.
I like it. What about you, my man?
All right, man. Let's go take a look at what the people talking about right now. So as we look at Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong on Tapology right now, we got 60% going for my man Mr. Dong by decision, and then the other 34 got Cejudo by decision as well. It's kind of crazy.
Hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but if I don't get said, have y'all seen what Brendan Allen looks like this fight week?
Slim Shady. Yeah.
Yeah. The fuck? He went from braids and shit in his hair to like clean cut, like Slim Shady.
Yeah.
Different. I just saw. I was kind of waiting to see if this Dana White news was.
It tripped me out. I didn't know who it was at first. I had to look at the caption, but yeah, definitely a change up.
Yeah, I don't even look like him.
No, it definitely doesn't look like him at all. But yeah.
Sorry, wait. Go ahead. I had.
It's crazy how a haircut can change. Can change you, make you look like make you feel and look like a whole other person. So let's see if that does help. The new look Brendan Allen. It might come out in the ring. But yes, man. Back to the main event. Dog, listen. I'm in that vein where you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And one thing that I've seen in these last two losses is Henry Cejudo's like a high school basketball player who's a good shooter. As soon as he hits that first brick, you can see it him to become dejected. You know what I mean? He's got confidence in himself. He is a Olympic gold medalist. He is who we think he is. Don't get me wrong, but when the takedowns and the strikes aren't necessarily landing as if he pictures them, you know, it seems as though in the last two, for sure, that he becomes just a little more reserved. He stops, putting as much pressure on the opposition, and that to me is when Song Yadong capitalizes. When you're not paying attention to Song Yadong, that's when he kicks it up a notch. He puts on his bit of pressure, and he does have a good bit of hands. I don't know if you guys, the Song Yadong does land. It's not knockout power, but it's damaging strike. Like by the third round, if you've been touched by Song Yadong, you've been touched by that. But that sounds crazy. If you get touched by Yadong, then you've been touched. Anyway, y'all get it together. But the point is, once again, to me, this is one of those fights where the river's going to meet the road, and Song Yadong has to figure out a way to do what exactly has been done to Henry Cejudo all before, and that's just take him out of his game. Let's make him wanting to wrestle you, make him miserable, and not become enjoyable. So that way he doesn't do it, and then you get to use what works best for you. I don't get me wrong, I love Henry Cejudo, but I think for him this is one of those, all right, man. Well, after this one, if you want to retire, you'd like to doing the podcast with Kamaru Usman, that's fine. And it's not gonna tarnish your image. You still was champ at one point in time. You still was a gold Olympian, a gold medal Olympian. You know what I'm saying? So hey, it is what it is. But in all, I'm rolling with Song Yadong, and I'm hitting the game over button for Cejudo.
My question is, how many times Henry gonna say this is the greatest comeback in MMA? Like,
but he's gotta believe in himself.
He's come back now for 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the wrestling is going to be enough. I mean, keep in mind his first, when he had his title run and stuff, that was a point at where you were an Olympic wrestler. That was a huge advantage. But, fast forward 5-6 years later, a lot of these guys at the top wrestle and stuff. And I don't know if it's going to be enough to get it done. But, at the same time, Henry's dealt with plenty of adversity, so I'm not counting him out. But, the main reason I went the other way is I just don't think the wrestling will be enough of an equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I kind of agree with that, Bobby. And real quick, like on the age front, they are because Whit mentioned it, like, or maybe both of you guys kind of mentioned it too. Like Henry's 38 years old. And Song is 27, so like 11 years apart. It's one of the biggest age gaps, like the third biggest age gap between two fighters in UFC history. So, that kind of shows you the difference in two. And Song is good. He's young. He's tough. I remember watching that Sandhagen fight. He took an absolute beating. And it still was kind of fighting and pushing forward. Pretty much with one round is fighting with pretty much eye closed, and still fighting Corey Sandhagen. Henry just has not looked. He looked decent against Aljo, but it did not look good at all against Merab. To me, didn't really offer much. And we saw. I mean, not that anybody really looks like a good against Merab, but. It just his last outing wasn't great, and he's only getting older. And maybe ring rust isn't a thing, but not fighting for a year or being in the octagon against somebody, especially. I think Song's still good and young. I'm gonna go with Song Yadong with you. I'm with you guys, so we're all on the dong. Time for Cejudo to go sit with Uriah, Dominic, TJ, and the rest of the old boys. Yeah, he tried that, but then I don't know what happened.
Good facts. No, what happened is he had a premature retirement because of COVID. He thought Dana was going to be coming with that Khabib bag, and Dana was like, "Nah, I'm good." Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what happened.
And for real though, you really, you know what I'm saying, you got to strike while the iron's hot. And unfortunately, COVID derailed all of that for Henry Cejudo. And then somewhere in that same vein, Dana was getting the memo, which at the time could have even been a fact, that Dagestani wrestlers are coming. Get your shit together. And and it literally went out the window to depend on Henry Cejudo, like the namesake champ, to hold up a division or two divisions, because he saw the future was on the way, and they came and they wrecking shop. So and outside of that, we got Merab Davishvili, who I'm pretty sure carried that man across the ring like a baby. Okay,
Put him over his shoulder and threw him down. I mean, that's Olympic gold wrestling. Like, it's insane. Insane. It'll be interesting. I don't know which is first. The UFC first or the boxing first?
The boxing.
If I'm not
first, right? Because it's in afternoon.
They'll be side by side at one point, but yeah, the boxing's on first.
So the tentative co-main, which we'll get into, is at 4:40. But you know how that goes with these Saudi cards. Like, literally, it's going to be on until like 8 o'clock at night, which is still technically a really long fight. Like, it's starting at 12 and it's going to be on by the time I get off of work. So yeah, it's cool. Can't wait to see it.
Real quick before we get into the boxing, real fast. If Henry loses, does he lay the gloves down? I think so. Like, you lose the song, what's left for Henry? What does Henry do? Like, you know what I mean?
And once again, I don't think that that's a bad. Okay, let's say this: if it's a bad loss, if Song catches him, puts him to sleep, chokes him out, rear naked chokes him, submits him some kind of way, or completely knocks him out before we get to third, fourth round type fight, I think that's a great opportunity to put it down. He doesn't have anything else to prove, especially as being one of the few to be champ. But if he takes a split decision, I think he goes back on the show with Kamaru Usman and finds another fight.
Makes sense. What about you, Bobby? You think it's career over if he loses Saturday?
Will he do it in the ring? That remains to be seen. I could see him keeping the gloves on and then retiring like on the pod or something. But like Witt said, it would kind of depend on how it happens. There's a good chance maybe he loses like a unanimous decision and he's actually in the fight. Those type of decisions, I always just go off what the fighter thinks they have left. And it's always kind of hard to gauge Henry, but he seems to feel like he has a lot left to give. But I would definitely think, the amount of fights he has left is probably, under 3. So it would not shock me at all if he decided to call it. But he doesn't have any relation with being from there or anything, right? It's just random that he's on the card.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think he's from Arizona.
That's what I thought. But
I mean, there is a heavy Asian population in Seattle.
Yeah,
or maybe they watch a lot because of Ichiro.
And it might again. I don't know if the UFC is going to give him that option. Because you remember just how petty Dana is about shit. He'll be like, you already retired once on my broadcast. Like, what the fuck are we going to have anyone interview you for? And I can completely see him laying his gloves down and getting no interview and then signing off. But
they did that to somebody recently.
Yeah, it's escaping my mind. But
I can't remember, but that happened to somebody recently.
If I'm not mistaken, it might have been someone that did not want the whole send-off thing, though. Because, those things always get, clarified. Because, we always think it's the big bad UFC, but granted, a lot of these guys just have way more private lives.
Yeah. Like people are speaking of retirements like that. People always get mad at them. I see like for Stipe, like they didn't run a video package when Stipe retired.
That was the best retirement ever.
But Steve, you couldn't run retirement because Stipe didn't say he was retiring. Even if they knew that, they could not promote that because then everybody said, well, then it should be Tom Aspinall. They had to do this fight and like make it look like Tom was like Stipe was gonna, if he won, was gonna fight Tom next. Like that's how it worked. Like, and then he retired after the fight. Did they know he was going to? Probably so. Did he announce it and say, hey, this is my last one? No. So what are we bitching about here?
If they knew and they had a package, they would run to play that package. And guess what? It would appear to Joe Rogan in the octagon with fucking nobody because Stipe would walk his ass out. And he, that retirement was so on point. He's like, God, no, I'm done. Thank God. It summed up Stipe's career perfectly. He hated doing media. That just wasn't his thing. And it was one of the things I loved about Stipe. So I understand kind of the fan perspective of it, of wanting the retirement video. But I think what a lot of those fans don't realize is those videos are more for us than the actual fighter. I mean, some of them, it hits that way. But, a lot of them don't really need to see the montage of their career when they're just trying to get out there with their paycheck.
Yeah. I started off the top of the show saying this might be the best boxing card top to bottom in decades. What should we look forward to this weekend? I knew we were kind of talking off air real quick about Shakur Stevenson and his opponent had to pull out due to being sick, and then there's reports that his camp is saying that the sickness came from Stevenson's camp. And all types of stuff. His dad actually took to Twitter. It's crazy because I watched it this morning. His dad took to Twitter under his name. Let me get to it here. I wanted to read these tweets out. Because MMA Junkie had put them out here this morning when I woke up to the news. And they've already found a replacement for him in 3 days' notice. So kudos to both fighters for taking the short notice fight. But
you better be getting a fucking bag. I mean,
B-A-G.
I know he will, but
capital B-A-G.
Both fighters, right? Go ahead and get in there and take it. Steven says Padley is the guy that's stepping in for following Floyd Schofield's being ruled out due to illness. So
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. All right, so you know how we do it. So, and now we have boxing for this weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So in the real life right now, we're at one of those pivotal moments where the MMA weekend is not as exciting as a boxing card, and here's why. This weekend we've got the rematch of Better Beeve and Bivol, but not only that, the fight card itself is so crazily stacked. Big shouts out to Queensberry Promotions, and of course the Saudi oil tycoons and everybody, and Turkey Al Sheikh, because I don't know who else could afford this. And because it's their money, and because it's Queenberry rules, and because it's Eddie Hearn along with Turkey Al Sheikh, they're fighting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, one more time at the Kingdom Arena. But of course, they got cross promotions happening in this one. So want to give a big shout out to Top Rank, Matchroom, the World of Fighting, and Golden Boy for actually coming to some agreements. Now, if I tell you who's all on this card, the bigger names are even the smaller names are even big. Let's put it. That's what I should say. The smaller name, the B-sides on each of these fights that I'm about to tell you about are still important. Watkins kind of gave us a prerequisite for what's already on there when we talk about Shakur Stevenson versus Josh Padley. We had it set up for Shakur Stevenson to fight Floyd Schofield, but somehow, some way, Schofield falls ill. We don't want to speculate here on Rec Rooms. I mean, not on Rec Room, but Head Kicks and Haymakers. But somebody falls in the soup.
So here's real quick what Schofield's dad got on his son's Twitter and tweeted these like major things, and then there's a picture of Schofield on the tweet as well, and he looks like he's like deathly ill. Looks like a little kid. And I understand the young man's not that old, but man, he just looks like in bad shape. But he said, so one of the tweets are, people are going to feel dumb when they see the proof. People feared Floyd and just made him more focused. Karma is very real. All the things will be revealed in time. We look forward to going home to Texas, on to the next flight. And then the next tweet, he's like, he'd want to thank Your Excellency for the hospitality. Our host, Rock Khan, has been amazing. He's been in the hospital with us. And then he did come out and say, in all due respect, we cannot blame Shakur or his team. I believe Shakur wanted to really fight, kid. We wish Shakur and his team success. I hope we can fight in the near future. So,
yeah, and when you've got that much cachet behind you, I don't think that it's a ducking incident. You know what I'm saying? I think this was really, you go out of town and you stick to the regulars. You know what I'm saying? You go out of town and you get a hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard. You go out of town, you get a hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard, bro. This is too important for you to try a kebab on the street, for the first time. You know what I mean? This is too important for you to mix up your eating habits because you're out of town and you're in a foreign country. Bruh, stick to what you know. And it's unfortunate that something like this happened. Of course, they won't really give the illness a secure name or what it was or what it could be, but hopefully it's something that Shakur Schofield can bounce back from, because as of right now, I believe he was number 2 on the WBC and WBA rankings. Of course, with Shakur Stevenson being on top, I think that's important. And then right there with the WBA, we all know number 1 in the WBA is good old Tank Davis. All right. So then now let's continue real quick. Right. Boom. So we go up a little bit more. We're going to skip over Joshua Bautista and Colin Smith. Great fight. Interim WBO World Light Heavyweight Championship belt on the line. Interim, still a good fight. Then we got this one here. Eyes open on this one. Virgil Ortiz, Israel Madrimov. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but Madrimov was on a roll at one point in time. Somehow, some way, he got in the ring with Terrence Crawford, and Bud Crawford beat him by unanimous decision. But then you got to go back maybe a couple months before then. He got that Magman Kurbanov win. I thought that was a really good fight. I couldn't believe that he did it, but that was on the Joshua Francis Ngannou card. And then on the opposite end, somehow, some way, you got Virgil Ortiz Jr., who is not to be slept on either. Somehow, some way, Virgil Ortiz Jr. is in here, coming off of, I think, 3 wins out of his last 5. 2 of them got canceled. So I'm looking now. Let me click on something. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in real life, you know what I'm saying, my man is 22-0, Virgil Ortiz. This is a good one right here to keep your eyes on. Then we slide up some more. What? Oh my God, we got the interim WBC World Heavyweight title on the line with Big Bang Zhang and Andrew Kabaye. Come on, bro. That's not to be slept on. We go up a little higher. We get to the co-main. This is the one that I am one of the first ones that I'm, jump out of my pants excited about. The IBF World Heavyweight title fight. Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker. I don't know if you guys remember, but Anthony Joshua got put to shame by Daniel Dubois last year. And Joseph Parker was one of the few people to actually find a way to, beat Big Bang Zhang at one point in time. But prior to that, he took out Deontay Wilder. So this is somewhat of a rematch, if you will, from about 2 years ago, about a year and a half, really like a year and a half ago. So we getting to see, the up and coming of matches for the world heavyweight title. Now, but we don't want to get too far off, but could it be that somebody between Dubois and Joseph Parker find their way to maybe beating or matching up with a Martin Bacot? That's right, the Congolese fighter who's 21-1, who last time we saw him was taking big baby Jared Anderson out for a walk. Possibly Alexander Usyk out here in the streets literally just had an interview and said, "Hey, let's see who wins out of that fight. Maybe that'll be my last fight." Because he I don't know, this is Headkicks and Haymakers, but you guys did get a chance to see him talk that talk and go, "Hey, look, he'll fight the Poetron, right?" Y'all saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a MMA show. Usyk was like, "Yeah, I'll take a super fight," and Poetan could go out there and he'll fight Poetan at cruiserweight. Why not?
I don't know one single person that wants to watch that fight.
Hey, you know what? Turkey Al Sheik will pay for it, and I'll watch it. Okay. And then last but not least, man, when we get to the main event, this is the real deal. Holyfield, and Holyfield ain't even involved in this one, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally happening. Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol. Last year, when we talked about this last year, fellas, we were on the edge of our seats, and we did not know what we were getting. Sometimes when you ask Santa Claus for an Xbox and you still get an Xbox, but on the other side of the Xbox, there's a controller for you to play with your friends, you lose your mind when you get to the controller because you don't know that the Xbox is in the other box next to it. So that was what we got last year when we saw Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. We had no clue that the fight was going to be this good. We had no clue that it was going to go all 12 rounds. We had no clue what type of implications it was going to lead to, but this is happening one more time. And I'm excited to talk about it, as y'all can tell. So if you have any questions, fellas, what are you on the outside, guys, Barkins and Bobby, excited about as far as this fight card is concerned?
I mean, the entire card is $25. And like, even with Stevenson, I understand he's still technically fighting on the card, but in my eyes, that fight has pretty much fallen off. Like, yes, we will see Stevenson, but even with that fight being removed, the entire main card is just insane. Like, I understand we're used to like Turkey building these like pretty heavy anyways, but like this is one that you're going to want to be in from the very beginning of the main card there. Because, there's not one of those fights I don't want to see. The main event was pretty much everything we thought it would be for two top guys going back and forth. And I'm very curious to see if we get that exact same fight and it's just like, round 13 and going to go, or if, Bivol is going to niche it out and we're going to get 1-1 and get another trilogy. So, I know we normally build stuff down the line and stuff for a lot of boxing with people being there in the crowd. But to me personally, like I just really care about the main fights on this card. And it's pretty cool that, normally I don't like it being in Riyadh, but with the timing, it's going to work perfect to be able to watch both that and the UFC. So I'm not going to have to pick one.
Yeah, that's probably kind of hit on the head. Traditionally, like I said, this is maybe top to bottom the best boxing card maybe ever, like in our lifetime, like top to bottom, right? Like it's usually like how they build boxing events is we got the marquee two guys at the top, a decent co-main, and after that, nobody knows anybody. Like a bunch of guys trying to make it to be the marquee, right? Like, but nothing like, where you're like, ooh, that's the guy, like this, where like fight 4 or 5, where you're like, ooh, these two guys I really been wanting to watch. So I think like that was huge. Stevenson, like to me, was like kind of like a big, like we were talking off air, was like his opponent falling out was huge. And maybe it's even bigger now for him because like he was getting a lot of scrutiny, as good as he is like not being exciting. Not being like this. I think we go through phases, right? And like Floyd is not the most exciting fighter. Like he's a great counter puncher, but and a great fighter, but when it comes to excitement, like right, especially the last, like, once he got up there, and was just trying to really maintain that zero on his career, he became more of a less of exciting fighter. And I think people are tired of seeing that. They want to see exciting fights. So Stevenson was kind of getting that like blame a lot of like, this guy's not exciting. He can't put nobody's lights out. We want to see exciting fighters and fights. So he, to me, had a lot of pressure going into this fight, and now we won't see him with the right opponent, but there might be even more pressure on him to absolutely just dominate his new opponent, because he's taking it on 3 days notice. So to me, like, that's intriguing. The co-main, like Whit said, like we're talking about a guy, Du Bois, who, kind of ruined everybody's plans, right? Like, it seems like we get these plans, and there's always somebody that spoiled it. We were supposed to get Joshua versus Wilder, and then Wilder loses, right? So then that's off. We were probably going to get Joshua versus Fury or maybe Usyk, right? But then, now, Joshua loses to Du Bois. Like, are we going to get Joshua Du Bois here too? But could Joshua slip on the banana peel Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, nonetheless? So like those are very like intriguing storylines to me. So like I'm looking forward to that on Saturday. Probably won't be able to watch a lot live because, well, dad duty's called, but we'll be tuning in, catching it all later. So
yeah, a big reason I don't hate the co-main event like being a rematch too, because I think when you go off Dubois' last performance, it's like a perfect setting to make that work.
Yeah,
it should be great.
And that's what I was going to say. Two things before we ride out. The whole point is the fight that Dubois had with Usyk made him look so inferior to the competition level that he was on, and they put him in a corner. You know what I'm saying? They put him in a space where, they basically threw him to the wolves in Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? To say, all right, well, you're not going to make it, kid. And this is the just like Bakken said, this is the warm up for Anthony Joshua to fight, Fury or Usyk, right? Goes out there, washes Anthony Joshua, completely puts him in another place and time zone. It did not even look like the same person. All right. And then bang, somehow, some way, Usyk and Fury turn into a whole nother thing. And then now we have to worry about this young man, which is why I mentioned, and trust me, you guys are going to want to keep this in mind. Martin Bicol, okay, from the Congo. All right. The guy, he looks funny. He dances in videos. He's clowning. But this is the guy that the heavyweights call on to spar, and then they go, everybody cut off your phone. You know what I'm saying? And this is, I'm talking about, I've read it in Ring Magazine. I've read it on the blogs. They call in Bicol to fight you so you can learn how to dodge a George Foreman-esque puncher. Bicol knocks you out in practice. Everybody gets their phone destroyed. I got a lot of money. I'm going to get you a new phone. So let's see what happens with this one right here. And then, Bakken, I'm going to close it with this one. Bakken, you made a great point about Shakur Stevenson. Look at this, right? I'm going to tell you these names. It's Tank Davis, Vasily Lomachenko, and Keyshawn Davis. These are the other world lightweight boxing champions. There are those three names themselves ring bells when it comes to exciting fights, knocking guys out, or making the opposition look inferior. When I say Shakur Stevenson in that group, that's not happening. And it's not as though Shakur Stevenson is not a good fighter. I think it's really because Top Rank and the ESPN promotion when he was fighting on Friday nights, I think that's a protective boxing promotion. They were not cross promoting at that time. Turkey Al Sheikh was kind of just getting the engine revved up to where he was putting his name out there to start unifying. When it was happening, Shakur wasn't fighting nobody, bro. And at the same time, he wasn't putting the lesser competition down. You know what I mean? Boxing is one of those sports where if you got lesser competition, they want you to see and put them out. And we, as boxing observers, we're getting fights from those three guys, from Tank Davis, who takes everybody's head off their shoulders, from Vasily Lomachenko, who's a pressure fighter, get on top of you and outpoint you to death, and Keyshawn Davis, who is just now a little bit of recognition about how he is also a pressure fighter as well. So just to have those three guys be your competition in a weight class, what's going on, Rob? Have those three guys be your competition in a weight class before you try to unify? Come on, bro. Ain't no such thing as unifying when you got Tank on one side and Vasily on the other. No such thing. And he just the man in the middle. So this fight with the guy they got replacing, he better take his head off the show. And I mean that in the best way, because his title is going to seem falsified if he does not beat somebody who's preparing for him for a week straight like that.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, that's we pretty much. Well, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, man. I think this was a great show. Glad to be here again. Don't forget Friday nights we're talking about the All-Star game because it was a show. Hey, Bob, you got some free time Friday?
That's what I think of the All-Star break. Snooze fest. Hey, yeah, I look like Chaos Williams when they put the All-Star break on the All-Star game.
Yeah, man, it was a thing. Out of 3 hours, we got 35 minutes of basketball, and then we got 20 minutes worth of Draymond Green telling everybody, "Yo, this is trash. This is trash." So
for once, I agree with Draymond.
Yeah, so catch me on in the hoop on Friday at 10 p.m. And I think my guy, Mr. Bobby Blunt, if he's got some free time, may jump in on the combo.
Right on. Yeah. Other than that, folks, Bobby, got any last words?
No, that's about it. Probably one thing I want to say is shout out to Dricus du Plessis. I know last week a lot of the fight talk was more about like what Sean Strickland did or did not do, and I think it's just imperative that we give this man his flowers because he is yet to lose in the UFC. And, he continues to really carry himself like a champion, too. The questions that he's answered and stuff, has every, option to, take the petty road. And he just always seems to take the high road. He can troll, too, but it's like he's starting to remind me of a South African George St. Pierre. So hopefully we get that Hamzat Chimaev Dricus fight for International Fight Week because I can't wait for that one.
I still maintain it's going to be John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, but those hopes are dwindling.
And last thought, check Dana's Twitter before we sign off.
I did. I just looked. I'm not seeing on Twitter. He hasn't gone live on. I usually get an update when he goes live on Instagram.
Yeah, the IG hasn't picked up.
It'll probably be like 9 o'clock East Coast time. Wait, no, like 9 o'clock my time. So
it'll be a little late, but hey, we'll keep our eyes open for it. And that was High Cotton talking about he looks like the South African George St. Pierre. I like that though. I like that, bro.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's ask this question because I think Bobby put in the Discord group question that, and I don't agree with this yet. When I ask you, so if he beats Hamzat, is DDP, or I guess it was if he beats Hamzat and Andy Manoff, is he better than GSP?
I wouldn't say if he's better because like what I was trying to frame is if he gets those 2 wins, it's going to be very hard to deny him that status. Because if he beats those 2, he's just going to keep winning. He can go up to a different division if he wants to win. It's the
career's got to play out for me because like GSP's like could be very rarely on the Mount. He is on the Mount Rushmore. What the fuck am I talking about?
Rushmore status, bro.
He is, and again, I'm not trying to discredit what GSP has done, but that was definitely the old guard. This is the newer guard, and if he's able to beat Chimaev, I mean, that's the one to me. It's not really a question of Imavov. It's mainly if he's able to beat Chimaev, there's nothing left for him, and I just see him keep continuing to win. So that's only why I was throwing it out there, but I know it probably currently sounds batshit insane.
All right, on that note, tune in to next week's Head Kicks and Haymakers and watch Bobby say some more batshit insane stuff.
That's crazy.
Nonetheless, it's been a great episode, boys. Catch us again here next week at 8 o'clock Central for a brand new episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. We'll look at what happened this past weekend in Seattle and in the boxing. I believe they're back at the Apex for the following Saturday. Yay. And hopefully we'll get this big announcement from Dana tonight, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that as well. So be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. We'll see you back here next week at 8 o'clock.
Peace.
Uh-oh.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.